The entire team at the Emsolation podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians and cultures of the lands and seas on which we live and work. We pay our respects to all First Nations peoples, elders and ancestors. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and stand in solidarity towards a shared future. I personally want to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I record this podcast every week, the Wurundjeri people. I recognise their continued connection to the land and waters of this beautiful place I call home. Always was, always will be.
This is the Emsolation Summer Series.
I feel like you're coming to this from a place of superiority.
I am.
With Jamila Rizvi.
Firstly, you've made me sound a bit like Mother Teresa, and I'm loving
fucking
it.
are.
I'm loving it, but I'm not. I'm not nice enough to be Mother Teresa.
She had an edge, I heard. Don't worry, she swore.
Em with Jamila Rizvi for the Emsolation Summer Series.
Hello there. Welcome to the Emsolation Summer Series, which is a collection of amazing chats with incredible people whose power and magic I wanted you all to be in the presence of and hopefully, just catch a little bit of. Today's guest is someone I've known for a very long time. She's possibly one of the most impressive humans I know. She's an author, she's a presenter, she's a speaker, she's an academic, she's a gender equality advocate. She's an everyone advocate. I speak of Jamila Rizvi. We first met when she was my editor when I wrote for the website Mamma Mia, and she had a profound effect on my life and gave me the confidence to write at a time where I felt, I probably shouldn't be because, I have trouble with spelling and punctuation and my brain works in a different way. And now we know why I structure sentences backwards sometimes. She is just so smart and so generous, and the world is a better place because Jamila Rizvi is in it. I know you're going to enjoy this. I really wanted to pin her down on burnout. Today's topic is burnout, and this time of year I know a lot of you are feeling it. And Jamila is one of the busiest people I know, and she also lives with a brain tumour, which has affected her entire life, as brain tumours tend to do, but hers is a very complex, and you'll hear her explain it, but the fact that she's able to still achieve all the things that she does despite having this thing in her head that dominates everything is another reason why I wanted to have her on today, to just remind you guys that, things can still happen even when you're perhaps feeling low on energy or low on time, Anyway, you're going to love it. I hope you do walk away just with a bit of spring in your step, It is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Jamila Rizvi.
Em with Jamila Rizvi for the Emsolation Summer Series.
Joining me now is someone I would say has an unhealthy relationship with their productivity standards, Jamila Rizvi.
Oh, Em, that's the kindest introduction I've ever had.
I do too. I mean, let's be real. We both have extremely unhealthy relationships with our productivity standards. They're way too high and totally out of whack and unreasonable, but still we continue to try and live up to them and wonder why. And I quote our last text message exchange Jamila sent to me, "I'm still running, but my eyes are so blurry I can no longer see." To which I replied, "Same. My soul feels dry and scratchy."
So it's Jamila and Em here with some holiday cheer.
Jam, I'm so tired.
Yeah. I feel like there's no way of getting off the train though.
Well, I've got off the train.
But you're still tired, so it didn't work.
I'm tired for different reasons than you are. I'm tired because I'm still trying to find a middle ground between totally unrealistic expectations and nothing. And I exclusively reside in all or nothing land, and it doesn't work. So I can't be laying in bed broken down and not being able to do anything, and I can't be spinning out of control and not sleeping and functioning exclusively with cortisol coursing through my veins instead of blood. I'm working on the middle place, and I think you're like the driver of the train and I'm on the train 3 or 4 days a week.
See, I don't know if that's true.
It is.
I feel like you're coming to this from a place of superiority. And actually, you are running up and down the train and like jumping between the carriages like it's some kind of action movie.
Nah, I definitely do less now. I can confidently say to you that I do less. But I'm also older than you and I've entered into perimenopausal brain fog era. So on top of my ADHD and autism, the perimenopausal brain fog, like, I mean, I know you know about brain fog and we'll get to that. But, I mean, if I could introduce myself to new people without fear of judgment, I would say, hi, I'm Em. I have ADHD with autism. I'm also perimenopausal. I'll probably forget your name. I'll be extremely anxious the whole time and just really fantasize about leaving. And please, if there's anything I need to remember, can you text me after? Like, how would you introduce yourself if you could?
I'll tell you in a moment, but I've got to say the incredible thing about you is I've pretty much heard you introduce yourself that way. Like you found a place where you can just say that and I haven't yet. Were I to introduce myself completely honestly, I would say, hi, my name's Jamila. I have too many jobs for the hours in the day, the week and the year. I am someone who is chronically stressed about having underachieved and so I run myself into the ground. And in the last few years, I've put on top of that significant disabilities and a recurrent brain tumour, which have made all of that harder. And I haven't taken the opportunity to cut myself some slack as a result. Also, don't judge me because I'm going to eat kind of weird because I'm on a lot of drugs. Let's be friends.
I would automatically gravitate towards you if that's how you I mean, I already did and do, but if that's how you introduced yourself, for me, I would feel instantly relieved. I would feel the need for me to be performative in any way and pretend like I've got my shit together. I just feel like that would just go. Why don't you advocate for yourself at all?
I honestly think this is like therapy.
You know this is what it's going to be. So let's just but there's so many women
learn something about myself.
I know. I have thousands of comments and messages from women your age, my age. I'm so tired. I'm burned out. I'm dead on the inside. What can I do? So this is why I wanted you because I don't know, you're a great communicator. You'll be able to help them, but you're also living it and understanding it.
Yeah.
So
I said to my 6-year-old at breakfast this morning at 7:15 in the morning when I was rushing around doing a million different things, no, you can't have honey because when you have honey on your toast, you often get it on your school uniform and then you'll have to get changed and I don't have time for that. I denied him sugary goodness on his toast for that reason. So
I fucking get it.
But I think, to be honest, I know that your internal pressures are made up of external expectations that you've internalized.
Correct.
But at the same time, I still know that the pressures come from me. You know, it's not like my husband's sitting there going, babe, you got to work a bit harder. In fact, he's saying the opposite most of the time.
We all are. We all nearly had to have an intervention. That's not a lie.
I do think for me, though, I have a particular fear that if I say no to opportunities, they'll never come again, or another great opportunity is never going to come again, or that I'll get so sick I can't take the opportunities. And I do think a lot of people do feel that way, that sense of, well, I've been given this great opportunity right now. I have to grab it with both hands. I have to spice up my life, do everything girl power. Even when I don't have any time or space for that right now. I have this incredible, amongst my many, many doctors, I have this incredible exercise physiologist who is very wise. And he said to me the other day, what are your priorities at the moment? And I started listing things and he said, no, you get 3. And I was like, okay, so 3 separate to like family and health. And he was like, no, if family and health are on the list, then you've got 1 left. What's your priority? And I was like, oh, work. And he was like, no, you can't say that collectively. And I was like, and I can't do it. I can't get it to 3. And I think that's a problem.
You know, we feel guilt when we like judge ourselves in comparison to other people's lives. Like that's really the source of a lot of mother guilt and female guilt in general. And I came to realize that fuck that, because what works for other families and other women, who says that if I did exactly what she was doing, it would work for my family. Yeah. So that's really helped. I've really, because I've been doing so much therapy around figuring out how my brain works, I'm genuinely in a space of I have lowered my standards so much. And like my psychologist Lisa has pointed out, you've lowered your standards to now just like high.
Yeah.
She said before they were impossible, now they're high. She wants to get me to normal. That's like the goal for my psychologist is normal. So because I realized that, you know, the stress, I've mentioned cortisol before because I'm obsessed with cortisol because I've functioned on it my whole life. And it's a really fucking asshole hormone because it makes you put on weight. It makes you forget shit. It makes you moody. And as soon as you start comparing yourself to a standard that you can't meet, that motherfucker enters your body. And so now anytime I start to feel inadequate or like I'm letting someone down or like I've done something that's not exactly perfect, I become like, oh no, she's coming, the cortisol's coming. So I've started like, and it's cognitive training to get rid of her, you've got to breathe. So then I imagine myself like, and I push that bitch out. I push that bitch out of my body. And it's just little things like that. So when I say to you, I have got off the train in terms of doing too much and feeling like there's this invisible force watching me and judging me and, you know, being disappointed in me. I'm actually that invisible force, that there isn't like a God or someone else like writing down notes and keeping score. I'm the only one keeping score. No other motherfucker is. So I genuinely have, when I say to you, lowered my standards, but I don't think you have yet.
No, I haven't. And I think that's quite true. Like I ended up in hospital at the end of last year, which is not unusual for me, but I ended up in hospital at the end of last year in something called an adrenal crisis, which happens to people with my particular set of disabilities. And you can die quite quickly from an adrenal crisis. So you have to act fast when it happens. And it manifests differently in different people. But for me, it's usually lower back pain, feeling really dizzy, my blood pressure dropping, and insisting that I'm fine. So my poor husband has to go through this deep battle of being like, I don't think you're fine. I think we need to go to the hospital. And then even when we're at the hospital, I'm like, I don't know why we're waiting. I think we should just go home. Why are we here? And he's like, because you might die. Anyway, I ended up in this hospital bed and COVID still raging. And so my husband's in full PPE. All the nurses and doctors are in full PPE. I'm in emergency, and because I recorded a temperature before I came into the hospital, I'm not allowed to go to a ward because I might have COVID. And I'm like, I promise I don't have COVID. I had a temperature because it's a symptom of what I'm going through. And they're like, yeah, we know, but we still need to wait. And Jez, who's my husband, stood up and stood over me and said, what are you going to quit? I was in a very vulnerable place.
Good. Fucking good.
I had very low blood pressure.
I want to tell you the conversations that were going on behind your back around that time. I want to share with you the conversations because we were very worried about you.
And in my defense, I think last year I was learning a new body and the limits of a new body. And I ended up in hospital 4 times with an adrenal crisis last year, which is too many, even for someone with my condition. And this year, we're almost at the end of it. I haven't had one. So I do think that's progress.
That's a win. That's progress. So you are.
I'm getting better.
You are being, yes, tick, A+. No hospitalisation from adrenal crisis.
Have not been hospitalised for a possible death experience this year.
Jesus Christ.
Look, there's a little bit of the year left. You never know.
Don't. I'm touched. I was ferociously, and I'm not allowed to because it's an OCD symptom. I was ferociously touching wood. Like when you were saying all of that, like I was literally my feet. You know, my psychiatrist saw the inside of my house once and like made this really funny joke, but kind of off, that he's like, it's amazing your OCD manifests in having to touch wood and you live in a tree house. You're entirely made of wood.
That's true. You do.
And he said, do you think that was deliberate? I was like, fuck.
But do you know something? I haven't told you this before, and this is not a criticism. This is a me thing. Your house makes me anxious because it's too nice. And as soon as I get there, I do that, oh, God, I've got to do more work on the house. The house is not in the top 3 priorities. The house is at number 50. Haven't even worried about that for ages. And I have got to find a way. I think a lot of us do that, right? We fall into comparison
Yeah, that's the guilt. I'm failing because I'm not meeting her standards.
Yes, even with
but
people
remember,
we love.
I've spent 4 days cleaning before you arrive.
And why can't I just be like,
Why can't I just leave the house messy?
I'm so happy that Em is living in a pristine environment.
It's not pristine. It's like, ask my kids. If they get home and I'm mopping furiously, the first thing they ask is, who's coming over?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing I learned from my mother. And what we're doing is we're setting up other women to feel inadequate.
Yeah.
Because usually my house is a fucking bomb site. Because we're a family of 5. 2 of us have neurodiversity. I'm a messy, disorganized, neat freak. And that's terrible.
That's an awful combination.
Horrible. I'm a type A personality, neat freak, control, messy, disorganized human. Can you imagine? Eldest daughter. It's not great. So when people are coming over, I feel the need to project this. I am so together and everything is super tidy and neat because I feel so chaotic inside my head. So, and it's the clean you do when you've got, and you open the door and everyone's like, oh, the house looks amazing. And you're like, oh God, it's a mess. Meanwhile, your family are like panting and like just crying in a shell, stinking of bleach with their eyes burning from the toilet cleaner because I've made them clean for like the whole day.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean, you shouldn't, don't, because it's a lie. It's a fucking lie. But I also want everyone to have a nice environment around them because,
that's an act of love, though, as well. That's like
That's
a
how
way
I show
you show love,
It is.
right?
Yeah,
I do the same thing with cooking, and
Yes,
people will
you
go,
do.
"Why have you gone over the top? You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to bring that. You didn't have to." And I'm like, "No. For me, this is my way of saying I care about all of you." And so I think the challenge is being able to separate those crutches of this is a me stressed, anxious, trying to please things from, no, this is genuinely me being loving.
Well, yeah. So like when I come to your house and I can see that there is like chaos everywhere because you're renovating and like you've just moved in and you've got all, and you're changing rooms around and stuff, my way of showing love is offering to like clean it for you and or organize it for you. And I genuinely want to do that. But also because in the moment I'm feeling anxious and the only thing that really calms my anxiety is moving furniture around. Like that's what I really love doing. You know what? I was sitting yesterday. This conversation is going to jump everywhere because of my brain and Jam can keep up. I was saying yesterday to Scott, I don't know what I find fun.
Wow.
I don't know what fun is for me. Like when I was 19, it used to be going to a gay club at midnight and dancing all night with the boys and then doing a day recovery and talking about the night before and listening to great music and then, getting a big meal, and that was really fun. Like I just remember being in the moment there, never feeling like I was should be doing something else or should blah, blah, blah. I never shoulded myself to death. But now if I'm even in danger of enjoying something, the shoulding starts coming in. So I'm like, would it be like getting my hair cut? No, because I have to make an appointment and show up and I find that very stressful. Is it like, I don't know, going to a show, going to a restaurant, but then I have to be really weird about what I eat because I have to eat a certain way now. And it's just like, what do you do for fun, Jam?
No, I don't know either.
See, I think, Jamila, this is the thing. And I think women our age, especially mothers, don't have an answer to that because we've lost that part of ourselves. And that's part of the reason we're exhausted. So like if I had to pin you on it, like describe a fun day where you would feel no guilt or like just where would just be in the moment having fun.
See, as soon as you say that, I'd be like, well, I should get up and do some writing before this very fun day happens.
No. It's like, it's fun.
I genuinely love being surrounded by lots of people. Like you do. I am true definition of an extrovert. I don't get anxious about big groups of people or social occasions. Generally, there's always some social occasions to get anxious about.
No, you're very good. You're very good.
But at a general level, I do enjoy that. I love being able to look after people, but I like...
Yeah, that's not fun though. But that's not fun.
But I like doing that in a non-glossy, fancy way.
Right.
In a Like for me, it'd be a weekend barbecue with mates who understand that if I get a bit lightheaded, I'm going to have to lie down for a bit.
Yep.
And kids in the pool, mucking around and having a great time, and not being stressed about what I'm organising for people, because I know that that's a group of people that if I screw it up and we have to order pizza, it doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
And just being around to talk to those people that I love hanging out with. And I'm not sure if that's a COVID hangover of not having been allowed to do that, but it's definitely not those like quiet time, be on your own stuff for me. When you said go and see a show, I am someone who loses myself in theatre.
Me too.
I forget
that was kind of
everything else.
That was where I ended up. Watching someone who's really passionate about what they do it excellently is fun for me. And that's why I watch so many weird, quirky, like niche reality TV shows. You know, glass blowing, chocolate making, blown away. So great.
Good. Did you see the potting one? There was a pottery one?
Of course, the Great Pottery Throwdown. Love it.
That was good.
I also acutely identify and feel kindred to those people, because I'm a bit that way about what I do and making stuff. And so I think, fun for me is being around really passionate people who are totally and unapologetically immersed in their passion, because it gives me permission to do that.
Be the same.
So I think that's my idea of fun, and it has nothing to do with other people, or like yours is all about being with other people and making other people feel good. Mine is entirely, I'm more obsessed with finding a space where as a pendulum I can swing without bumping into anything. And that by bumping into anything, I mean my thoughts and my emotions. And when I go to shows or when I watch people on television who are really fucking obsessed with one thing, I stop. Everything stops. But the same thing happens to me when I'm on stage. Same thing happens to me when I sing. And so I guess that's another thing that I do that I find fun is stepping onto a stage and being completely immersed in something I'm really good at. But I think over COVID, because I didn't get to do that for 2 years, I think that was kind of the beginning of the unraveling of like, and I think the mental tiredness got so hectic because I never got a break from it, because I wasn't doing the thing that does give me a break from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
see, I was too scared I think I'm similar in that way, but I was too scared to say that one of the things I feel like that sense of like I'm flying, I'm not worried about anything, I'm just doing this, is if I'm on stage talking about ideas with interesting people and I know I've got an audience who are as interested as I am in what's being said. But I didn't want to say that because that's work, and you're not supposed to say I'm happiest when I'm working. But I love working. Like
so do I.
You and I are privileged in that we both get to do things we love and we get paid for that. And
we're not privileged. We fucking worked our asses off to be able to do that.
That's true. But I know people who have worked their asses off who don't get to do it.
Yeah, but it's all relative. Like, let's not compare. I'm not privileged because I've spent the last 20 years fighting people who told me I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
That's true.
It's been fucking hard. I've had to fight with everything I have in me to have what I have and find my own community and put on my own TV shows and radio shows. And I don't feel like it's a privilege. I feel like it's a hard-fought win.
Yeah, it is
my career.
It's a huge win.
And yours is as well. I mean, you have a fucking brain tumour. And you're more impressive now than like before your diagnosis. You actually are. Like, don't pull a face.
Sorry.
Whenever anyone says to me, and you're not inspiration porn to me, by the way, whenever anyone says to me, like, you always get asked this, like, which women do you look up to? I always get asked that.
Yeah.
Which women do you look up to? And I always struggle, because people would say someone like Oprah or, I don't know, Julia Gillard or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always say you. I always say my friend Jamila. Yeah, I do.
Thanks.
I do. And that's the only genuine answer I think I can ever give, is because you just kept fucking going. You just kept going. And I think sometimes when I feel really weak about something or I feel really tired, I think, Jam's doing it. Jam's doing it. I don't know. You still have this insatiable desire to make people's lives better. All your work revolves around making women's lives better and understanding things. And, I think most people in your position would just want to fold inwards and just look after themselves. So, like, what do you think drives you? Because all your work is in the space of bettering women's lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what drives you to do that? Considering how you refer to yourself as disabled, right?
Yeah, sure do.
Yeah. Yeah. So considering your disabilities, how do you still have the time and space for that?
Well, firstly, you've made me sound a bit like Mother Teresa, and I'm loving
fucking
it.
are.
I'm loving it, but I'm not. I'm not nice enough to be Mother Teresa.
She had an edge, I heard. Don't worry, she swore.
There's an edge, I promise. There's a lot of people I don't like. It's hard for me to explain my disabilities because they're so complex and there's so many of them. So I think it's first worth saying what my disabilities look like. And the reason they're so complicated is that I wasn't born disabled, but I was born with a group of cells in my brain that weren't supposed to be there. And then when they grew, by the time we found them, they had adhered themselves to multiple parts of the brain. And my tumour doesn't grow in the middle of the grey matter. It grows in a really densely populated, high-functioning part of the brain. And so when it hit different things, it started to impact their function. And then when it had to be cut out, it impacted them even more. So I have things that seem completely unrelated, like I've got no sight in the periphery of my left eye and I have no sense of smell and I don't make estrogen or testosterone or growth hormone or, interestingly, cortisol. So I don't have cortisol in my body. And it was interesting hearing you bitch about cortisol. I get that because high cortisol is the worst, but you also need it to be alive.
Yeah.
So for me,
I was being ableist bitching about my cortisol.
Not at all. So I take synthetic cortisol twice a day. And what I have to do is my body still feels the stress your body does.
Yeah.
But because I don't have cortisol to come up to help me deal with it, and yes, it comes with all the bad bits, but it also helps your body deal with it, my body can just flatline. And so my blood pressure dives and I end up in hospital as per earlier discussions. And there's a bunch of other different things that there's no point going into.
No, there was one that I didn't know when you were here and you had to take a tablet to make sure you didn't drink too much so your body didn't flood.
So there's a hormone that controls how thirsty you are and how much and the water balance in your body. So how much you weigh, how much you drink and how much you hold on to. And I don't make that hormone anymore, so I take a tablet that helps me regulate that. But I take that tablet about 9 p.m. at night, and if I go out to dinner and I forget to take it with me, there have been more than a few occasions where I'm like, I got to go home, I got to go home, got to wee, got to go home, got to go home. And you've got to go to the bathroom, do a giant wee and then get in the car and be like, drive. Because you've got to get home before it happens again. Because your body just starts offloading water and you become incredibly thirsty and you can drown yourself if you drink too much water. So it can eventually become problematic, though for me it's mostly just been quite funny the way it's impacted me so far.
How many tablets do you take to keep you alive every day?
I take 7 tablets, 2 gels, 1 cream and 2 injections a day. I'm very expensive.
Babes, it's fucking hectic.
Yeah, it is hectic. And I've got to say I am someone who I don't think, beyond a couple of close friendships, I don't think I ever looked deeply into the world of disability before I was in it. I was interested in my mates. I had a close friend with MS and my close friend Stella Young, who died a few years ago. But I was interested in them, but I wasn't interested more broadly. And so I suppose when you say, oh, I was being ableist, I'm like, no, you weren't, mate, because you didn't know. So what? I'm not that bothered by that.
Well, I probably did. No, but I feel like, do you think you're still holding yourself to the standard of pre-brain tumour disability, Jam?
Yes.
Like, do you think you've adjusted your standards to you now?
Yes and no. I think I have the same sort of overarching standards, like bigger picture kind of standards. I have adjusted, and I really only think it's happened this year, but I have adjusted to the fact that my body needs more rest than other people's bodies.
Yeah.
And that I have to operate differently. Last week, my husband and I went to this sort of weird food theatre experimental thing the other night that Scott Pickett ran in the city in Melbourne. Yeah. And it was great, but it went for 90 minutes and it started at 6 p.m. And so we finished at 7:30 and we got in the car, and I don't know why I said this, but I said to my husband, oh, well, we should drop off at a bar in the city or Collingwood on the way home and blah, blah, blah. And he just drove home without saying anything about that. And when we got home, I said, oh, didn't you want to go out for a drink or something? And he just looked at me and went, we can be at home in pajamas, sitting on the couch chatting and watching TV and folding some washing at 8:05.
And that's a goal. That's an achievement, Jez. Goal, right? Jez is on it. Yeah.
So much of that is about the fact that if I'd done another 2 hours, the next day would have been harder for me. I would have had to take extra cortisol medication, which is not the best for you. I would have had to adjust the way I live my life the next day. But for us, a night like that, which is I'm pushing myself being embarrassed about talking about it because I feel like I should be cool and I should want to go out and do more. But for both of us, for my physicality and for his stress levels about my physicality, which are huge, that was the best night out in ages.
Exactly. Lowering our standards. You know, I think we forget that even if life is hard, it can be good.
Yeah.
I think there's the idea that if we can find all these bunch of stuff to make our life easier and get all the apps and the gadgets and the fucking wellness and the gym and the smoothies and then everything will be easier and then finally life is good. But life can be terrible and amazing at once. And I feel like it's the either or. You know, it's hard. It can be hard and great. And I think that's where I've landed.
Yeah.
I think I was on this obsessive quest to make my life more streamlined and easier and, you know, outsourcing. And I thought once I got there, I'm going to wake up one day and go, yeah, now it's good.
Yeah.
But it already fucking is good.
Yeah.
On my birthday, my kids hand make me cards and breakfast in bed and they pick gifts they know I'll like and, that's good.
Yeah.
I got second at the podcast awards last week. That's good.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
You know, I got second on the Masked Singer. Fuck, there's a lot of seconds. And the overachiever in me doesn't like the way that all sounds.
Why don't you do it in terms of I beat 13 others.
Beat 13 others.
I beat 28 others on the blah.
I beat 779 others in the podcast awards.
See, there you go.
Reframing.
That sounds much better.
That's the key to middle age is reframing. That is the key. But I want you to tell me why you want to help other women so much when you've got so much going on for yourself.
Problem is I have thoughts about what you've just said, and I just want to say first, when you talk about good, you talk about good as a destination, as if once you get to good or happy, then you just are that forever.
You're missing it while you're looking for it.
It's not how life works. It's about a process. It sounds wanky, but it's a process. It's not a destination.
No.
And
it's a journey, not a destination, please.
And I think being sick has made me I don't think I've become some evolved human. I haven't changed my life massively other than taking more naps and going home at 8 p.m. and doing more doctor's appointments and being more broke because I spend a lot of money on medical things. But I do think I've found that I've got to find happiness in the now rather than thinking when I'm fitter, when I'm stronger, when I'm richer, when I'm thinner, when I'm more organised, when the kids are older. I don't want to miss the bit that's happening now. And when you talk about the other women thing, I feel an enormous debt of gratitude to the people around me who have helped me through the last few years because I have not been fun to be with the whole time. I've not been easy to be with and I've not been easy to help. And people came out of the woodwork to help me. And I know because I talk to brain tumour patients all the time who need someone to talk to and my surgeon or whoever refers them on. And I'll say, you've got to get organised. If you're going to be in bed for the 12 weeks after the surgery, you can't be alone in that period and your partner can't do all of that. Who's going to be with you? Who's going to move in? And the number of them who say, I don't have anyone or I can't ask them that. Like I just had a revolving group of people and let me say they were all my mates and they were all women. And that's not to say there haven't been amazing men in my life, particularly my husband, who've gotten me through this, but it was the women who were all in, like, what do you need? You know, the people who showed up on my doorstep at 6 a.m. from interstate the day after I was diagnosed. And so I think there is a sense of wanting to give back to those people who helped me. And I think I had learned relatively early on in my working life, somewhere in my 20s, that the thing I was good at was making people feel more normal. And that doesn't sound particularly inspiring.
Mate, that's my job.
Yeah, I think we do it in very different ways, but I think we do the same thing.
Yep.
And it's that permission of going, okay, so I've been through X, Y, Z that you might be going through now, or you might know someone, or you might go through it one day. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you some insights into the vulnerability and the stuff people don't tell you because it will make it easier. And for me, that broadens from being vulnerable and open with my own experiences right through to the more sort of policy, government-minded work that I do that is about saying this cohort, this group of women deserve better in this regard, and I've got a good brain for policy that can help make that happen.
Em Rusciano with Jamila Rizvi for the Emsolation Summer Series.
Oh, my God, I'm so glad we got to politics because, I mean, as you know, look, I do love it. I'm not as, knowledgeable as you are on it.
Don't talk yourself down. You are verging on politics nerd territory.
I dabble. I'll admit it. I did grow up because I was such a loser in high school. I used to spend Saturday nights watching West Wing with my parents.
Yes.
Yeah, my love affair started there. So we have an election coming up before May and ScoMo has to call it, obviously.
Yeah.
Albo's been turning up the voltage a little bit.
Yeah.
Most recent speech was pretty all right. You are a member of the Labor Party.
I have been in the past.
Okay. All right, just putting our cards on the table.
Yep. I have been a member in the past, and I've also worked for Labor governments.
Yeah, absolutely. And so can Albo beat ScoMo at the next election, Jamila Rizvi?
Yeah, he absolutely can.
Really?
I don't think there's a really clear and easy path to that victory, but I think there rarely is a clear and easy path to that victory. If I was a betting woman, which I'm not, but I would say it's going to be a hung parliament.
I agree. It's going to be a bunch of fucking independents, isn't it?
It is, because you've got huge numbers of independents who are, interestingly, sort of centre-right candidates who want more action on climate change. But what I think is most fascinating is that they are almost all women.
Love this.
And I think that is a recognition of what has happened this year and the attention that the electorate, that all of us are paying to the parliament and what it's like there for women, a desire for more women in the parliament. But we don't need to push necessarily for more women on the Labor side. I mean, if Labor had won the last election, they would have had more than 50% of their MPs and senators would have been women, right? They're kind of there when it comes to representation. They've got work to do at the top, but they've got the representation. The Conservative parties don't have that. And so I think there are conservative women who are saying, I don't want to be a part of that because I don't belong to that, but I'll run myself. I'll back myself. And you've got rich philanthropists who are like, I want action on climate change, and the only way we get it is not change on the left of the parliament, it's change on the right. And so I'll push these women who are inherently conservative women but who are saying this country needs to get its act together on climate. And I think they're going to have some success.
Wow, you've heard it here first. I mean, eventually I'm predicting Gladys Berejiklian will be the next female Prime Minister.
Oh, interesting.
That's my feelings on the matter. It's a long-term prediction. She's going to run for Tony Abbott's seat, definitely. She's too popular for them to ignore.
But
I don't think anyone gives a shit.
What if ICAC...
No one gives a shit about ICAC.
You reckon?
Nah.
I do. I care about corruption.
Yeah, I know, but at the end of the day, I think her corruption was the most human form of that everyone can relate to. I think if it had been more dubious corruption, more it was just basic. It was dumb. It was reality TV stuff. She had an annoying boyfriend at the time who she loved, and from all accounts, everyone said he was a fucking pest, and she just wanted him to stop because she's very busy, and she swung her flaps around, made some things happen to shut him up, didn't disclose it, and got caught out. I mean, in the scheme of corruption, the clay pigeon people got a lot of money, but Christian Porter's only just left politics. How long did he remain employed and okay and have people paying for his legal fees? And I just feel like the standards are different for men and women in the way that we, publicly admonish them. No, I don't think people give a shit about the ICAC results. I mean, the left will, and they'll go it hard, and it'll get brought up every time she steps up to a podium. But I don't think the people who will vote for her will care. I don't think they care. I just think they think Daryl's like a dead shit boyfriend who misled her, honestly.
I think there's also a lot of attachment in this country at the moment to the premiers within each state. Like there's this real sense, whether your state sailed through COVID by shutting borders and not having anything to do with anyone else, Mark McGowan, or whether you went through the toughest 18 months imaginable here in Victoria, there's a sense of loyalty and of he or she got me through this, Nothing was perfect, but they were there every day fronting press conferences, doing the work. And I think there's a real distinction in people's minds between that behaviour and the relative absence of the Prime Minister.
Correct.
And I think while Anthony Albanese might not be the most inspiring leader for everyone, I do think his continued repetition of Scott Morrison had 2 jobs, quarantine and vaccination, I do think that's had some cut through. And I think people are like, yeah, mate, the states did the heavy lifting. You had these 2 things and they were both a disaster. And we're all vaccinated now, or most of us are all vaccinated now, but there was a huge period there where people were dying every day and that's on you.
I agree. Well, we can only hope. Like, I think I agree with you. Either Hung or ScoMo will win.
Yeah, and the one thing I think that people have got to be careful about, and particularly people like you and me who get optimistic and hopeful.
I don't. I'm the magical unicorn of death. You know that. You know that I predict bad things.
So to push forward in your love for guarding against hope, I don't think there should be an assumption that if the significant number of women independents who are running against in coalition-held seats, we should not expect that if they win, they're going with Albo.
No way.
Don't make that assumption just because they're running to beat the Libs that they're not going to then support the Libs into government and extract a few promises on the environment.
That's exactly what they'll do because at their heart, they're conservative women. They're not going to – it would have to be something fucking huge for them to go with Albo. He won't be able to form a government. It'll be interesting. Oh, my God. All right, we're winding up because you're a very busy woman. I had so many things I wanted to get to.
Sorry.
No. This was always going to happen. Don't apologise.
I'm the worst. I say so. If you go back and someone audits this podcast, I probably said sorry 50 times.
You know what I got told to say instead of sorry? Thank you.
I try and do that with compliments.
Every time you go to say sorry, say thank you.
I like that because I do that with when someone says something nice about me. Instead of going, oh, no, I now just go, thank you. That means a lot. Oh, my God, let's talk about something else.
Do the same with sorry, please.
Okay.
So I guess we walk away from this discussion. I mean, you and I are eventually going to do a whole series together. We will once, ironically, we're not both working so much. We both have a desire to make women especially not be crying in the fetal position at 2 a.m. questioning all that they hold dear. That is at the core of what you and I do and probably what draws us to each other and each other's work. We're both big fans of each other's work.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to leave today encouraging everyone listening now, which will be predominantly women and gay men, let's be honest. I want to embolden them to air their weaknesses and to air their vulnerability. And to talk more about those things with the people around them. Because if there's a collective lowering of standards, especially for ourselves, don't you think there'll be, like the flow-on effect from that will be less tired women?
Yeah, I think that's just one of the flow-on effects. I think the flow-on effects are bigger than that. I think some of my closest relationships have been formed because people were willing to make themselves vulnerable. And I think we see vulnerability as a weakness rather than a strength. And admitting what you find hard, admitting your jealousies, your imperfections, your frustrations, your exhaustions, often when you do that to someone, it actually creates connection and often really quickly, right?
It absolutely does. I sat you had a very powerful lunch for women this week. I'm still recovering from.
Sorry. Sorry.
Thank you.
And I knew you weren't okay. So she came, everyone, and she got stuck down the table away from anyone she knew.
No,
and I was like, how do I get to her? How do I get to her?
You reset the scene. You exactly explain what it was. Come on.
So we had, actually I've had a few, but we had an awesome lunch the other day of about a dozen or so incredible women who I admire in sort of media and the arts, I would say, in Melbourne. And we were sitting at one of those tables where it was a long table up against the wall. So you could only enter from one side. So we'd all shuffled down to one end. And Em came in the second half of the group, which meant that the people...
I was late.
Anyway.
No, I'm chronically late because I have time blindness because I'm neurodiverse.
Well, a lot of people were late, so I don't think you need to feel bad. So there were a bunch of us who were all squished down, and the people Em knew were all squished into a corner. And so when she got there and sat down, I could see the panic in your eyes. But I was like, I literally couldn't come over to you without going underneath the table and saying, excuse me, Lisa Miller, Susan Carland, can you split your legs apart so I can crawl between them to get out, to get to Em because she's anxious. And so
what were the signs you were seeing in your
making people change seats. I was like, okay, everyone, it's like kindergarten again. We're all going to stand up and sit with someone new.
Oh my God,
it was all I could come up with for you to be able to move.
Because I think you looked over. I think at one point I was just like, I think I just had my head down. I was just looking at my hands. I think that was when you looked across and you're like, okay, we're changing seats. But like, I just want you to know, I sat down with all those women. It was a very impressive table of women. The photo's up on Instagram and we'll post it again when this app goes out. But as soon as I sat down, there were very earnest, highbrow conversations happening around me. Like it was intense. It was very, like enriching, probably conversations I would like to have done some studying for before I sat down. No one was talking about Drag Race All-Stars Season 2 or like Selling Sunset or US politics. Like there was nothing in there that was really like my special subject. And so then I was sitting there and at primary school when you're waiting to like get in on the skipping rope?
Yes.
So I'm standing there and I'm listening, right? And then this is how my brain works. So they're talking about unrealistic expectations of women in relationships. I think that was the topic. And I'm like, oh, I can contribute. Should I say it now? What's it? Am I going to say it now? What was it? Oh, what was I going to say? Shit. Oh, wait, they've moved on. Oh, no, okay, just. And so I ended up like waiting there for 5 minutes smiling. And then I said, yeah, you know what? I found out cocaine puts me to sleep and that's how I knew my brain was weird. So I never did it again. That was my fucking contribution.
Amazing.
And they all stopped and like looked up at me and I was like, oh God. So then I just started sweating again. That was so my brain is, I can't be present within the conversation because I'm desperately trying not to interrupt them because I interrupt people all the time because my brain's gone 10 steps ahead and I'm worried I'm going to forget about what I'm going to say. And also people with ADHD form connections by telling stories about themselves when they hear something that they can relate to because we find it so hard to connect with people. And so when someone says this happened to me, I am very self-conscious that I usually come back with, oh, that happened to me too, which in the past was like, am I a total narcissist? And then I found out from my psych that no, people with autism, especially women and ADHD, it's a connection, it's a way of connecting with someone. So there was a lot of me, it's like someone was talking about late onset diagnosis of ADHD and I was like literally biting my tongue going, don't speak, don't jump in on them. I wanted to be like, me too. Oh my God, I can talk about this. But that's why I was sitting there looking miserable because all of that was happening in my little head.
But I think that the thing you got to remember is that, and I'm not saying this to take away from what's going on in your head because it's complex, but everyone's got some version of the neuroses or the I'm not good enoughs or the do I belong or I'm stressed about this going on at that table. For example, I, since being unwell, have put on a lot of weight and I spent maybe 20% of my brain power over that 4-hour lunch was spent on some of these women I haven't seen since that happened. What are they thinking about? I can guarantee you none of them were thinking about me.
No.
But I spent 20% of my brain power at a lunch that I organised with people I really wanted to be with, wasted on that. And I know I wasted it, and yet I still can't not do it.
No, I know. I wasted it too. I wasted it just convinced they all actually hate me and see me as some like sellout, fraud, pop culture loser, like, you know, try hard, all the things that people call me in high school. And I spent the whole time with those incredible women. But then I couldn't settle in. I couldn't settle into myself. Yeah. You know, when you like lay down on a couch and you know you're about to watch your favourite show and you've got a cup of tea and you just sink into being Jamila, or you sink into being Em. I could not sink into my body during that lunch. Yeah. I felt itchy and tetchy and it wasn't good.
I'm sorry.
It was good to see you, and I made a new friend in Claire Tonti who
is awesome.
Is an amazing podcaster, and
she is.
We spoke for an hour about being sweaty, anxious people, and she lives near me, and I haven't made a new friend. You facilitated my last two friends, Santilla.
Hi.
And Claire.
I don't think I did much, but anyway, I'll take the credit.
No, you did. You just knew. You put us together. I don't know how. You're a connector. You are a connector.
I do like doing that.
That is your strength. I'm an amplifier. You're a connector. But yeah, it was good that you did that lunch. It was great. But you know,
I'm sorry. You never have to do it again.
No, I wanted to be there because I'm trying to be better at peopling. I'm really trying. Because that's like the last, I need to master it. And no one believes that I'm socially awkward, like until they see it in action. Like you've seen it in action, so you believe it. But people who haven't seen it in action, like, no, you're in a leotard in sequins and you speak for a living.
That's different. That's all different.
Oh, mate, if I could have had a stage on Saturday, trust me. Before you go, what's going on for you? What are we looking out for? What's the plug? I want you to plug, whore. What do you need to whore? Do it. It'll be amazing. It'll be good. It'll be worth your while. Tell me.
I host a podcast called The Weekend Briefing, which is the weekend edition of The Briefing, which is a daily news show. But I do like an in-depth interview with someone at the end of the week that kind of ties into the news a bit, sort of like a Good Weekend profile to the Sydney Morning Herald daily newspaper, which is really good fun. Come check that out. We've got some great guests over the holidays. And then really big one that's coming for me in February is Future Women who I work for, who are part of the Nine Network. We are launching a podcast called There's No Place Like Home. We have been working on it for 12 months with a team of 8 people. It tells the stories of 10 different people who have survived family violence. And we have talked to hundreds of experts and people with lived experience all over Australia. And it is going to take you inside a world that will either be very familiar to you, painfully so, and make you feel less alone, or it's going to take you inside the world of someone you know. And we know that one woman a week is killed in this country by a man who once told her that he loved her. And this podcast starts to think about those women and their stories and also what the solutions might be. I'm really proud of it. I'm not in it, but I have EP'd it.
I love it. I just got chills all down my body. I mean, we desperately need this.
Yeah.
And of course it's you, the helper of women, that's made it. And it's taken till 2022 for it to be made. But I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah, it has
oh my
been.
Gosh, I can't wait.
I think it's been the hardest thing I've ever worked on.
Oh, honey, I know.
But the people we've talked to are incredible survivors and incredible storytellers as well, who've shared things they've never told their brothers and sisters and their parents and their friends.
And we're full circle on talk about strength and vulnerability and talking about a time where you were broken and how powerful that is. There's nothing braver or stronger than doing that. So, you know, this podcast, and I'm glad it's the last thing we're talking about that you're bringing out, kind of brings home all the things we've said over the last hour in different ways, in that women telling their truthful stories will always help other women, rather than posting a picture of yourself that's heavily filtered on Instagram with a clean house in the background and your kids eating perfectly balanced meals and your husband's always loving you, and that's doing a disservice to women.
Yeah.
So that telling your story, a truthful story, is what's going to help people like us not feel as tired. God, look at us. We tied it up. Woohoo. Thanks, Jam. Thanks for being here.
This is Emsolation.
Well, hello, my darlings. It is Wednesday, what's the date today? 12th of January. So if you're listening to this on Thursday the 13th, this is like I recorded it yesterday. I'm coming to you from the past. This is all very confusing already. I wanted to jump on and just say thank you for listening to the summer series. I hope you enjoyed that chat with Jamila Rizvi, the incredible, the incomparable. She is a dear friend and an impressive, extraordinary human, as you've just heard. We're back next Thursday. We're back. I saw House of Gucci last night. Oh, my God, I have so many thoughts and feelings, and I'm not going to go into it too much now. And Michael and I I want you to know, we've barred ourselves from talking about it until we record next week's episode. This is our dedication to you lot, because we don't want all the magic and the vibes and the energy to leave our words. We want it to be fresh. But I have so many, it was an hour too long. Jared Leto clearly just studied Super Mario Nintendo games for his accent research. That's all he did. It's me, Mario. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. That's it. But I think all the gold was in the trailers. That's it. Stop speaking, Em. So, yeah, we are back for regular programming next Thursday, the 20th of January. How exciting. Lots of fresh new ideas. Marcella's going to be fact-checking us. There's a whole bunch of things, little tweaks. Look, we're coming back with a little freshen. Hello, is someone in the room? Oh, Scott's climbing on the roof. Of course, because when I say I'm going to record something, he definitely needs to get on the roof directly above me. No, it's great. Mate, I vowed to come back this year being professional. So here I am being so professional. Oh, my God, he's really up on the – oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, good. It's good. Get married, they said. Jesus Christ. It has been a long summer holidays. Oh, guys. Is he fucking with me? He's got the leaf blower out. Not only has he waited till I'm recording to get on the roof directly above me, he also took the leaf blower up on the roof. This is a new level of fuckery. Even for Scott. All right, I'm going before I say something that he regrets. See you next Thursday, gang. We're very excited. If you have any suggestions, by the way, anything you'd like to see back in the podcast, don't suggest Scott, because he looks after Elio and I record, and it's just easier that way. Maybe he'll make some cameos. I know you guys all love his advice. I get it unsolicited all the time. Yay, he's like a fountain of unsolicited advice. You stop with the leaf blowing. You must have got my evil vibes. Have a lovely week. Thank you for enjoying. I really enjoyed the interviews. God, I'm rambling on now. I really enjoyed them. I think I love picking the brains of super clever people. I don't know. It's like a sport. It's a hobby. I found another hobby. Besides finding hobbies as my hobby, this is another hobby. And I really hope to do more of it this year, because I love unpacking interesting people's brains. It's just fucking awesome. All right. Have a great week, gang. I hope you're all okay. I know I recorded an intro and kind of said hello and everything, but that was like nearly 6 weeks ago. And a lot's been going on. And Miss Omicron has just been laying all of us in her path. And no one, oh my God, I just realized I coughed in a pandemic. I'm fine. I just got, it was a rage cough. I hope I'm scared to leave the house. And Elio obviously can't be vaccinated because he's only 2, nearly 3. And I'm just terrified. I really am. I feel like I'm back in this weird purgatory lockdown, but it's like there's no law. It's every woman, man, non-binary for themselves. And I don't know. He's back on his leaf blower bullshit. That's my cue. See you next week, guys. I actually can't wait. I've missed you. Bye.
Emsolation with Em Rusciano is a Spotify exclusive podcast hosted by Em Rusciano with Michael Lucas. Executive produced by Benjamin Wasley. Produced by Em Rusciano. Edited by Ezekiel Fan at Entente Music. With videos by Liam O'Brien. Socials by Marcella Rusciano Barrow. With assistance from Jem Evans and Georgia Watts. Plus occasional technical wizardry, wine and coffee from Em's dad Vincey. Get more Emsolation by following the Emsolation podcast on Instagram, where you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter. You can join other Emsolators at the Emsolation group on Facebook. The answer is Harry Styles. If you love what we do, share this podcast with a friend and make sure you're following us on the Spotify app. Thanks for taking time out to listen to this week's episode, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon.